All right, so by request, here it is, guys, the male comparison. Um, and again, this is going to be on the Legion Alpha stuff. The beta is here, so this should end up changing. But this was recorded just a little bit before the beta actually got out. Um, so how are they playing, guys? I mean, they should be playing very well on their play styles. They should end up not changing too much from this. And if you want to end up seeing a bit more on the specs, I do have the spec class videos out there. But what are we looking at? How well are they playing, really? Are they fun? Are they not fun? Are they doing okay damage? Are they able to survive? That's basically what this is all about. It's a quick ranking, and this is a brief overview of each class to see how fun they are and where the damage is coming from in Legion. If you'd like to know more, again, you can check out the class videos, guys. This is just a brief. Also, just a note, none of these play bad in any way, just different. And this is solely on my opinion of how I would rank them personally and how well they played. Different playstyles do have different thoughts about each spec. Who's going to take number 1? Let's find out, starting with number 5, the Beast Mastery Hunter. This spec played fairly well and may move up the ladder quickly with some excess crit mastery gear. With most of your focus gen and abilities requiring Dire Beasts to be reset by auto shot crits, it feels the gameplay can be very slow, and most of this is due to gear. More crit is going to increase this thing's gameplay speed, obviously, because you're going to get more Dire Beasts, more focus, and it's going to improve quite well. It is a very structured and unique feel to this spec, but currently the pacing made me want to take a nap. Unfortunately, I was fairly bored with this. Some people will enjoy the more paced gameplay of this spec, and it was fairly relaxing to play and let the pets do the majority of the work as I watched a TV show. Not bad, but not great, as I felt I was just on cruise control for the most part. Overall, single target damage felt good if Dire Beast procs were up, and AoE Beast Cleave kept you very competitive, if not higher than most specs. But we're going to move on to number 4, the Survival Hunter. It's the complete opposite of BM, guys. This thing was spammy and fast-paced. It was really quick to end up playing. It plays well. It's awesome to see the return of Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite to the spec and make an all-new melee spec. They finally pushed the melee hunter, guys. Blizzard finally decided, okay, we're going to do this. Lots of people asked back in the day. Now it's kind of like, okay, it's live. Well, not live, but, it's here. It's coming. With this being the only hunter spec left having traps, its utility is pretty awesome. You can end up doing a lot. But why is this thing number 4? The gameplay on the spec is just like ARMS in many ways. Hell, most melee currently in Legion kind of have this same thing. And what it is it's the burst window. Mongoose Bite allows you to stack its damage with a 12-second timer from the first Mongoose Bite cast. So basically, when the first Mongoose Bite's cast, you've got this 12-second countdown. And what you can do with this is you can stack Mongoose Bite up to 6 times, each time giving it 50% damage increase on the next Mongoose Bite. Doing this in 12 seconds, you are very proc dependent, and it really kind of plays odd on the gameplay. And then once that 12 seconds is off, once you have it roll off, you kind of want to stop until you're back up to 3 charges so you can redo that same damage again. So basically what you're doing is right off the bat, because this thing stacks 3 charges, you can end up doing 3 stacks and get it up to 150%. Alright? And hopefully you can end up getting procs through Raptor Strikes, Flanking Strike, or whatever other abilities, your mastery. It helps get the Mongoose Strikes. It's really weird because it's a complete RNG basis without an actual damage modifier window, but it's a damage modifier off the ability. So it does kind of give it a unique flavor, but in the same turn, it is almost the same thing as Colossal Smash's window, except it's one ability affecting other abilities, as to where this is one ability affecting itself. So it really kind of got boring quick after playing some of the other specs. So for the majority of the time, you want to spend it pushing this one button while keeping up your bleed, which is Lacerate, fishing for more procs with Flanking Strike, and then spamming Raptor Strike when you had the extra focus. All in all, great damage, single target if you get the procs, and if spec'd, AoE damage can be pretty high also, but you definitely have to spec for the AoE to be progressively good. It's a great playstyle though, guys. It's just currently like almost every other melee spec right now that's out there. Well, at least arms, red, to where you've got these windows, these burst windows for damage, and that's where it lost its unique, fun playstyle. So we're going to move on to number 3, the Elemental Shaman. For those of you that have watched a couple of my vids, you know that I actually main an Elemental Shaman, and they have done some huge improvements to this spec. The CD removal on the shocks and the new Maelstrom resource has redefined this spec. Okay, not really, but it has improved. You're still using the same basic core abilities as in live, but the mastery is changed back to Elemental Overload, which is better known as Multi-Strike to some now, thanks to Warlords of Draenor. This was the bread and butter of Ellie back in the day, having this unique niche, and it has returned to be a class-specific yet again. You also have the return of Elemental Focus, which after any spell crit gives you the next 2 spells a 20% damage increase. This plays very well because if you've got Flame Shock up, you all know that Lava Burst is going to crit, so you constantly can end up keeping this up, especially if you're getting a lot of decent procs. You also have your crit modifier back. Instead of being 200% damage, it's 250%. Does this make crit high on the charts? Probably not. It's probably going to go back to how it was before, to where it's Mastery Haste or Haste Mastery, depending on how much you've actually got. So playing into that, really all they did to this spec was return it to where it belonged. A few X packs back, and added the Maelstrom mechanic to it, guys. There's not a whole lot of changes to this, except they did give it some quality of life stuff. The spec is playing extremely well, a lot better than what it is on live, in both single target and AoE situation, and has a fairly easy rotation swap for either one. Raid utility wise, you have your Earth Elemental. Not very many raid utilities that are out there still that aren't on healers. But you do have your Earth Elemental, which reduces all damage by 30% for 15 seconds. So if timed right, a fairly game-changing utility that most classes do not have anymore. All in all, it's always been fun to get those back-to-back lightning casts and just blitzkrieg through the content, guys. It's just fun for me, but it is still number 3. So we're going to go ahead and move on to number 2, the Marksmanship Hunter. Blizzard's had some huge changes with this spec, actually. With the addition of Mark Shot and being able to play this ability in single target and AoE situations just by swapping whether you want an Arcane Shot or if you want a multi-shot, it made it feel strong. It really an interesting gameplay. You've always got some sort of wax or wane that you're doing. But basically you're marking a target or multiple targets as vulnerable and just sniping them down at range. Really brought the field back to MM. With the ability to run with or without a pet in the spec, it's all about you, the marksman, to make to basically do your best and take aim and do your shit as a ranged DPS. Still very highly mobile, guys. You can still end up doing a lot of mobility with this spec, especially if you're getting back-to-back procs, which it seems like the Mark Shot procs quite a bit. Really fun, guys. I really enjoyed the changes to this spec. I have not enjoyed a hunter in quite some time, a really long time, and I actually enjoyed playing this because it lived up not only to the class fantasy, but the gameplay of a true hunter. Your whole point was to basically get out there and actually kill shit. You know, that's it. You marked these things, you actually marked your target, and you took aim, and you did what you needed to. The spec feels very solid and calculated to do some really good burst or long-term damage depending on how you spec your talent tree. MM felt very, very strong in single target and did fairly well in AoE also with the swap of Mark Shot. It's interesting gameplay all the way through, guys. If you were to finally level 100, if I were to finally level 100 again, I'd be all over this spec just because of the Mark Shot gameplay. And you wouldn't think that one ability would do this much, but it completely can make or break this spec on how it plays, and it plays very nice. It really brings some good flavor to the MM Hunter, and it honestly feels like they took the best of Survival's old spec and mixed it in with MM and made this new breed MM to make it feel good. And it really does feel good, guys. But with that, we are going to move on to number 1, the Enhancement Shaman. This spec totally brought the enhance back to enhancement, guys. The spec is all about enhancing your weapons and enhancing your team, all while doing some insane damage, single target, and AoE. Most of the talent choices are all about enhancing also, not about improving, okay, is this single target, is this AoE, but about actually enhancing your abilities. Like Rockbiter can enhance attack power for 20%. Earth and Spike increases physical and nature damage you do by 10% for X amount of time. Multiple things like that. So why did this take number 1? It's absolutely fun. You not only get to improve other players' damage with some raid utility through Stormlash, but you can give up some mobility and toss your own healing rain down and help your healers, and just keep it up by DPSing. They kind of took this new ability called Rainfall, and they took healing rain and conductivity and mixed it together and gave it to enhancement. Awesome. It's really actually a good amount of healing also, and you can basically, if you're DPSing, you only have to reapply this thing every 30 seconds. Survivability was fairly top-notch also, being able to instantly heal yourself with Healing Surge with the low cost of 20 Maelstrom and no cooldown. Both world content and dungeons felt very smooth on the spec, leaving very little downtime. It is a very spammy spec though, very spammy, with a long priority list, and can be fairly complicated to maximize damage, but it really is left with how you want to talent. The way you end up talenting this thing is going to depend on how difficult the spec is, but also how much damage you're going to do, because there is some huge leaps and bounds with adding a few extra buttons that will really make this thing awesome. But you're going to be a huge buff tracker, absolutely huge buff tracker in that situation, or you can make it easy and you know, still do good damage, but not as much. So it's definitely got a huge gap there. But you can still make it either an easy or hard spec. It's really neat that way. The talent system is quite different compared to most guys, because most of them you hear me talk about, okay, you've got an AoE spec, you've got a single target spec, and with this thing just being able to mainly be on your single target spec for increased damage is going to be a huge deal. And the reason why they do that is a new ability. It's called Crash Lightning, and basically as you're running your single target rotation, you're just doing additional cleave damage, and it's a huge difference. So you're always running a single target rotation, with the fact that if you've got 2 or more targets, you're going to use Crash Lightning and make it to where your Storm Strike and your Lava Lash are going to do additional damage as you do your normal single target rotation. Awesome for cleaving in any situations in AoE. Even though single target and AoE, this performs very well. Even though we had lost the Flame Shock Fire Nova spam, that thing was out of control, and they did a good job to still make it to where your single target and AoE can both be balanced together. But guys, this is going to conclude our male comparison. I hope you all enjoyed, and again, it was formed more from the fun of things, and at a fun level. And if you would like to learn more about these specs, you can always check out my full videos right here on the channel. And again, as always, thanks for watching.